what I'd like to do is ask, how many precinct committeemen are here tonight? Wow. How many in there? 5, 6, 4. So 9 or 10 of you guys. That's fantastic. What townships are you from? All Downers Grove? Lyle. God bless Lyle, yeah. Some of you guys are going to like what I have to say. Some of you are not going to like what I have to say. I've been involved in the Republican Party for 24 years. I got involved before I could even vote. It started with the Will County Young Republican Organization. They had to explain to me what patronage was, because I hadn't a clue. I've been involved ever since. When I went to my first Tea Party on April 15th of 2009, I felt like I had finally found a political home, and that I had been in the wilderness all of my adult life. The people that were at that Tea Party rally felt the same way I did, but I hadn't been seeing them knocking on doors and putting up signs and speaking to people and trying to push the agenda like I had been trying to do inside the Republican Party. Now, there's some questions that I'll be happy to answer tonight, and some that I'll get to right up front. Let's get it out there. How many people here are planning on voting for Mark Kirk? Mark Kirk. No. Okay.
I know what you do.
Okay. No.
We don't want a rebellion here today.
No. I asked that question not because I want to start an argument, but because I want the folks who are here tonight to understand that there are different opinions in this group. And that's okay. It's fine. If you've made the individual choice to support Mark Kirk, that's your choice. And I'll be the first one to defend your right to do exactly that. But let's do the opposite, or the same thing for those people in this room who've decided Mark Kirk ain't the man. Come hell or high water, they wouldn't vote for Mark Kirk regardless. They have a right to their opinion, and we need to hear what they have to say. Not in this meeting particularly, but over the course of time, I think it's important that we get to understand where those folks are at. I met with Mark Kirk months. Vivian, Laura, you weren't there, but Vivian and I actually had breakfast with Mr. Kirk long before the primary was over. My issue wasn't whether or not he could win the primary. It was whether or not he could win the general election. My concern was, would he be able to convince enough what I call constitutional conservatives, or patriot conservatives, to support him in a general election? That is still up to Mark Kirk. You can see by the hands in this room, let's face it, those of you who are supporting Mark, if he doesn't have 100% of the people in this room backing him on election day, he's in trouble. He's in big trouble. And it's not up to us to explain to people, it's up to Mark Kirk to explain to people why they ought to support him in November. Amen. So let's let him and his campaign handle that. What we can do is focus in areas and talk about things where we agree. There are a lot of good candidates on the ballot in November, where I'm sure if we went around this room, we'd get, 90, 95% of the people in this room would say, yeah, that's somebody I can get behind and I can wholeheartedly support. That's what we want. That's where our energies and efforts ought to be focused. But as individuals, you're going to need to make those choices. Now, I'd like to explain a little bit about the real reason I came here tonight was to talk about precinct committeemen. Now, the committeemen here all know what that is, but for those of you who are not normal or have never been involved in politics, a committeeman is basically the basic unit of politics. It is the grassroots of the political machines. Without the committeemen, nothing gets done, or at least it shouldn't. I would have to say, unfortunately, half the committeemen that I've met are totally useless. They don't work their precincts, they don't do their job, they hold those elected positions, they hold those elected positions because it's convenient for them, because it makes sense for them in their township or their area, they're an elected official in some other capacity, and they want to hold those positions because it helps keep power centralized into one group of people. I've been there. I've been there. I've been a committeeman on and off for 24 years. It's a tough job, but it actually comes from the townships. Everybody here know what township you live in? Not what village, what township you live in. Each township is broken up into precincts, except Cook County has an exception on this rule. But the rest of the state, each township is broken up into precincts. Each precinct has an elected committeeman for each of the parties. The Democrat Party, the Libertarian Party, there's the Green Party, and the Republican Party. And you can be a committeeman for any of those parties. All you have to do is get your 10 or 15 signatures, certify that you actually live in that precinct, and get yourself on the ballot and run. One of the other things you can do is get appointed. Do we find out how many vacant precincts there were in DuPage County?
Didn't find out. Greg, would you know that, Greg?
How many in DuPage County right now?
DuPage? I know we only have.
Unelected, I mean, you're talking
Yeah,
about
vacant.
Unelected,
excluding loops and lips or no?
Yeah. Precincts where somebody is not going to work.
I can tell you in Downers Grove, we have, I think, 2 right now that we don't have an active committeeman in. I don't know countywide, what is it, 695 precincts, I think? What is it, 695? Greg, you out there? Abbott?
Yeah,
I think it's about 695 precincts in DuPage.
something like that,
Yeah, so, and I want to say, on the Republican side, like I say, in Downers Township, we have all but 2,
Yeah.
and on a number of them, we have assistant committeemen.
Well, Downers Township is an exceptionally organized, excellent Republican
They
organization.
work our precincts very
And
hard.
they actually work their precincts very well.
Even conservative candidates.
But they are a rarity in some areas. In some places, yeah, I don't know the Lyle organization, so I can't speak to that. But there are places in this state where you got committeemen who've been committeemen for years. And the people who live in those precincts have never had somebody knock on their door. That is the basic #1 job of a precinct committeeman. Get your butt in the street, knock on those doors, meet those voters, find out where they stand, and then try to tell them where you stand on whatever election cycle it is. Primary cycles, general election cycles. In 2011, shortly on the heels of the the November 2010 cycle, we have the April 2011 cycle. Village boards, school boards, library boards, park district boards, those boards control your property taxes. How many people know of tax and spend liberals that hold what they call nonpartisan positions, elected positions in your area?
All of District 99 with except for 2 people.
Schools, the school districts, especially great schools, are notorious. Notorious. They sneak them in there, they run them for office, because it's nonpartisan, they don't have to declare a party affiliation. Many of you folks, how many people have decided, I'm not going to declare party affiliation in the primary? Anybody ever done that? I don't want to declare party affiliation. Wow, that's fantastic. That's really rare. There is a huge number of people in this state who absolutely refuse to vote in primaries because they don't want to be labeled. I'm sorry, Ann.
Another thing that I did in a few elections was cross-party lines to try to knock out certain...
Not in primaries, in general elections.
No, in a primary too.
It's impossible.
Well, in Cook County you can. You could ask for an elephant ballot or a donkey ballot.
What you're saying is you might be a conservative, you might be a Republican.
Oh, right, yeah, you might be trying to pull the rhinos out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that does happen. That does happen, yeah.
DuPage had 16,000 people that crossed over in 2008 the primary. About 16,500 crossed over that historically voted Republican, crossed over and voted Democrat. We think for the most part to try to...
And those percentages carried statewide. All over the state, lots of people flipped over. First time they ever pulled a Democrat ballot in their life. And a lot of them elected officials. I watched the returns, watched them do it. Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference between a precinct captain and a precinct committee man?
Well, very little. Cook County has its own rules and setup, but essentially they're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
The idea is that precinct committeeman is the basic unit of politics. If you want to get involved